Konnichiwa.
Welcome to the Jandals in Japan podcast.
Hello, we are live and calling in from Tokyo today.
Hi.
I hope you can see us. We're kind of squished in here. I don't want to get too snuggly with you there, Catherine. Or maybe we could talk like this.
We could talk like this.
Yeah, there we go.
Back to back, they faced each other.
Yeah, it's kind of socially distanced if we're talking in the other direction.
It's very funny.
We're a little bit excited, aren't we? Lots of things happening in Tokyo. And I made a special trip down from Fukushima. I left at lunchtime and tried to get on my train, got to the train station, and the little man was making announcements. Wah, 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 wah. And I was like, oh my God, what are they saying?
Ooh, what was
it was, the train that I was supposed to be on is 22 minutes delayed due to safety checks because there was quite a rumbly earthquake this morning.
Oh.
Did you feel that?
No, actually, I might have been moving around at the time, but I didn't. I saw something flash on my screen, but I didn't feel anything.
So it was quite a shaky one up where I was. And so they stop the trains and then they do these safety checks when the trains have to go slowly. So my train was behind schedule, but it was 22 exact minutes. And I checked when we got on the train, when the train showed up, we got on, off we went. I looked at my watch and it was exactly 22 minutes.
Japan, you've got to
later.
love Japan. They're so accurate. How do they know it's going to be 22 minutes, not 21?
So I don't know what they did to make it happen, but yeah, that's Japan for you. So it was very nice just to know, okay, I only have to wait 22 extra minutes and it happened. But I made it. I made it to Tokyo. We have lovely surroundings today and some exciting things planned. So Catherine, tell us what we have coming up on our live show today.
Well, so many exciting things going to happen today. We want to go through what we have coming out next week, our next episode, which is episode 3. And a little bit of a recap on what came out last week, right? Carl Robinson's episode 2. We also want to talk a little bit about some things that are happening in Tokyo itself, and we'll get into that in a moment. But yeah, remember the other day, Jayne, you were talking to me about, I was complaining about the weather, and I don't like spring because I really like autumn when it gets out of hot Tokyo, hot into the cooler. I really find it difficult when you're heading out of the cold winter into spring and it doesn't want to be spring. And you told me something about cold and warm doing some sort of relay between each other at this time of year.
Yes. So apparently, of course, in Japan, they have an expression for this weather pattern that happens in spring, which is called san kan shi om. So san, 3. Kan, cold, 3 cold, shi, 4, on, warm. So 3 cold days followed by 4 more warm days, followed by 3 more cold days, followed by 4 warm days. So that's sort of, that pretty much sums up what autumn is like here. Spring is like here. 1 minute you're like, oh, it's beautiful and warm, and you've got your jandals on, and you've taken off your jacket, and you're thinking you can put your jacket and your woolies away. No, because 3 cold days are coming. Yeah. And then so you'll be back to freezing cold, and it might even snow.
Yeah. So I think today, we're in Tokyo today, and Jayne, as she just said, has come down to Tokyo today, and we're in the lovely Conrad Hotel. Thank you so much to the Conrad. Yay. Great room. Beautiful, beautiful room. Today must be one of the, what is it? Shion. So it might be the warmer day today rather than the cold day, because it's nice and sunny outside, great view from the Conrad, and keeping us timed nicely. And so we look at 2 screens here, by the way. We go to Instagram up here, and we go to Facebook or to Zoom on the lower screen. So if you see us looking around, that's why. We're not disinterested. We do love you. It's just the way it is. Yeah. And Jayne, you had that late journey into Tokyo today because of the train. And then, wasn't it good, though, that you arrived early today, because we also had a bit of a tech challenge when we arrived at the hotel. When you're out of your usual environment for technology, it does challenge you, right?
Yeah, all the things are logged out and, nothing's working, and suddenly your microphone's not accepted anymore. These kind of things happen. So in Japan, we have a question for you today. If you're watching, how early do you arrive for something in Japan? And if, for example, we don't really go anywhere very much these days, online Zoom calls with Japanese people or in Japan, how early do you show up for a Zoom? Are you 5 minutes early? Are you right bang on time, or are you even 1 minute late? Oh my God, if you're 1 minute late, world's going to end.
In trouble.
Yeah.
It's hard to know. For me, I'd love to see if people are listening and they come up with some ideas, but I had this come up the other day where people were arriving on the dot. And was that okay? You sort of think about the people who are organizing the event or the meeting. Do they want people in the room beforehand so they're not distracted trying to get them in through the gateway, right? So it's sort of hard to know whether Japan 10 minutes before an actual meeting is on time. Is 10 minutes before a Zoom meeting on time, or a bit too early?
I'm thinking 1 to 2 minutes. How about you?
I'm about that, up to 5, but 1 to 2 minutes is about right. If I'm really early and I see no one's on, I'll say, hey, I'm just going to grab a glass of water. I'll go off screen, off, camera, off mic, and then go away and do that. I think that works quite well. But the 10 minutes early on a Zoom is a little too early.
Little too early.
Yeah.
Especially if potentially people are having a pre-meeting and you show up and they're like, oh, she's here. And then they know that they're keeping you waiting. So maybe not being too early. But it's good to check your tech, that it's working and that you can get into the room and you've got the right Zoom link and all of that. Yeah. Have you ever played Zoom tag? It's not fun.
No.
When you're in one Zoom room and your guest is in another Zoom room and you're like, oh crap, how am I going to get them in the right Zoom room? And then you're like emailing Zoom links and then they're like, oh, I'm here. And then you're suddenly in another Zoom room. And this happened to me.
Well, anyway, speaking of exciting things, we are here to tell you about next week's guest. Our third episode is coming out next week, Monday, 25 April, Anzac Day in New Zealand.
If you've forgotten about that because you're in Japan, it's easy to miss these big sort of things that happen in New Zealand, like Easter.
Yes.
We just missed that. Anzac Day. Yeah.
Anzac Day, right? And so you can hear about our guests' tips, again, for finding and nurturing a really great fan base in Japan, kind of customer that is attracted to this product because they are on the edge of outdoor wear, but also on the edge of fashion. So we think it's going to be a really interesting episode. You can also hear about that person's challenges of opening up an e-commerce shop during a pandemic and how things didn't really roll as well as they were planned, of course, because of a pandemic, out of your hands, but how she or he, they dealt with that problem. And also you'll hear too from he, she, they, what they got from their customers. The voice of the customer really changed the way of thinking about the products, different to what this person had in their mind initially. Well, that was really interesting too, right? And how you can work with all kinds of different, considering it's clothing that we're talking about, a color palette or a vibe that really does work in Japan.
You will love this episode.
Well, we're biased, but you will, because there's not only that, there's a bunch of other interesting stories. This person's been in Japan, nearly 30 years. So much wisdom, has launched a few other products and businesses before this particular one that we talk about. And this particular product is something that all of you Kiwis out there will have actually touched, and it will have
you will have worn these things.
Oh, you will have worn.
You will have been made to wear these when you were a kid, potentially.
Are you pulling the wool over my eyes, Jayne? You are crazy. Yeah, I think you might be able to guess, but you may not be able to guess. So just come on board, subscribe to Jandals in Japan, and come and listen and hear about this wonderful, wonderful business. Yeah.
All righty. So entry visas.
Yeah. Entry visas to Japan finally being processed. We're hearing quite a few stories now. So if you're thinking of coming in here, you can travel to Japan if you are 1, a student, 2, a business person, and 3, there seems to be this sort of newish family related to business person in Japan category, someone who's already got a residence visa in Japan. Yeah. So
your family or my family potentially could come finally to see us in Japan. So looking to use that one.
Come on. So I think I heard on the news that 30,000 30,000 foreign students have come into Japan since the borders started to reopen for the student visa all the way through March. Of course, getting a visa here really does still take a lot of paperwork. And apparently you have to go up to the embassy in Wellington if you're coming from New Zealand. Then in Haneda or at Narita Airport, you've got a little traipse around for about an hour and a half minimum to get around all the different stations where they check pieces of your paper to make sure everything's in order. And assuming that you can get a negative test, you'll come in. Yay. And I think for anyone coming from New Zealand who is triple vaccinated, they don't need to self-isolate anymore, which is super news.
That's awesome, isn't it? If you've got your 3 jabs, you're good for
you're good to go, right? So
that's a big change, isn't it?
It is a big change. You do need a support on your visa here. A business visa does need a lot of certification from somebody who's on the ground here who can certify that you'll be good while you're here and look after you and guarantee you. So that's probably the hook on all of this.
Yeah, you need someone who's going to vouch for you and your behavior while you're here.
Exactly. And so as in for Tokyo, obviously it's still completely masked here. So if you're coming from New Zealand where you're not really wearing masks in orange, you do need to be wearing them in Japan. If you don't, people give you some side glances like, what are you doing here? I went into a supermarket just this last week and I completely forgot as I was going out of the door.
You must have felt weird,
something's
wrong, but I don't know what it was. And there was nobody who told you that you didn't have your mask on.
And people were staring at me and I thought, why are they staring at me? That's why I didn't have my mask on. But lucky at a supermarket, they had them on sale. And so I put one on. Yeah, we're coming live from the Conrad Hotel in Tokyo and having a really lovely time together. Usually we're on different screens, but this time we are together. And Jayne, also we had a fantastic episode go out last week, episode 2 with Carl Robinson. We've heard some great feedback on that one, haven't we?
Yes. So you mentioned that someone shared that episode with someone who is in the wine industry in New Zealand and who wants to have their wine in Japan, and they found it really helpful.
Yes.
Look at that. That's so exciting. We're super excited to hear that it was useful to someone.
That's right.
They got an inside look into what it's like. And hopefully we'll see some new wines coming into Japan thanks to that episode.
Welcome new wines to Japan, premium wines from New Zealand. And that's the point, isn't it? This podcast is to inspire people to do business with Japan, but also to get ideas and help from the people we talk to who are sharing their stories of like real life of getting business done here. And, they wouldn't probably get that information unless they listen to the podcast, because it's not always available on a webinar or on a blog. It's harder to get that whole pure real information out there. So we're just so happy to hear that kind of story.
So exciting. And please tag us if you get your wine into Japan. We want to hear from you. Yeah.
Yes.
So we have a new episode coming on Monday. Make sure you listen. You will love the episode.
Oh, so punny. Oh, so funny. Yes. So this guest has so much to do with us. And did they actually have a special offer, Jayne?
Yes,
they do.
They do. A really juicy discount code.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Oh, that's so exciting. I can't wait for that on April 25th, for our next guest to come out. And we've also been having a big buzz around New Zealand and Tokyo this week.
Yes.
First of all,
so exciting.
Zespri, Ruby Red, kiwi fruit landed in Japan. And, Zespri's been so successful here. And their advertisement they have of 2 little kiwis, one's a golden kiwi, one's a green one, and they're called the Kiwi Brothers. They are, in fact, the most successful CM commercial in Japan amongst consumers. It's unbelievable.
That's amazing.
It really is.
Wow.
Yeah. They don't talk about New Zealand on there. They talk about Zespri. They talk about kiwi fruit and how healthy kiwi fruit is. And now they've got this new little red guy who I think is another brother who's joined the family for at least the meantime.
Have you tried a Ruby Red?
No, I haven't been able to get my hands on any. Have you?
Yes. Oh, we've had them. Oh, I've had them. They're really delicious. So
good.
I hope that New Zealanders will get to try them one day soon. But if you're in Japan, get your hands on a Ruby Red. They're delicious. All of the kiwi fruit that we get here in Japan is top. notch. So it's really, really
export
good.
quality. It's beautiful, isn't it?
It is.
Well, I've heard people explain or describe it as exquisite taste, which is amazing for the ruby red. So I'm looking forward to finally getting it somewhere in Tokyo. If anyone knows, please shout out, let me know. But sales of kiwi fruit just gone gangbusters all over the that's a word I can say. They've gone ballistic, shall we say. We heard someone say that earlier today, over the pandemic, because people want healthy, nutritious food, and that's a really
vitamins,
particularly good one for kids and adults too, right? Yeah. And Jayne, what else is happening? You're in Tokyo, not just to talk here at the Conrad today.
I did not
what else is going
on a train for 2.5 hours to rockety my way through the Japanese countryside just to see you, Catherine. But that is also one of the bonuses. But we have some special visitors who have arrived in Japan thanks to the borders opening and business visas being available. And 2 little fantails have flown into Tokyo. Well, they're not so little. I think they're quite big, actually.
They're quite tall.
They might be taller than us.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, so we're very much looking forward to meeting them tomorrow. And I came down to Tokyo to get a chance to say hi, welcome them to Tokyo, and hear about their entry into Japan and how they are getting their products into Japan. So we'll have more info for you about that tomorrow. And big shout out to Glenn Brown for giving us a heads up that they were coming, and we have hijacked them here in Tokyo.
Yes.
But we're very much looking forward to seeing them tomorrow and having a good Kiwi catch up over some brekkie.
Yeah.
Tomorrow. It'll be a bit flash though. Here.
Yeah. It's the Conrad after all. Yeah. Well, anyway, it's going to be fun, and I can't wait to speak some really fast English and Kiwi English tomorrow and meet them. Find out how they've done so well here. You know, it's really great to see. And I think their particular product, the reason why we said fantails, because that's the symbol or emblem on their product, and also proceeds from the sale of their products don't just go into their pockets, they go into help conservation in New Zealand. And we think that's an amazing thing, to look after our native birds. So we're looking forward to hearing more about that as well.
Yes, so just to remind you, there will be a wonderful episode coming out on Monday. Are you getting sick of my dad jokes yet?
Wool.
And all about wool and bringing products into Japan that have wool in them. Yeah,
exactly. And that's on Monday, right?
Morning. Make sure you subscribe for that one.
We are here at the Conrad together, and the Conrad Tokyo look after us all the time. They've been a great friend of New Zealand way back to Rugby World Cup before that. But that was a time when the Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, stayed here. The rugby team, the All Blacks, stayed here. They were
they in this hotel?
They were in this hotel. Maybe in this room. And they stayed here. And so there's a real affection between the Conrad Tokyo and New Zealand. And we just love being here. And really thanks so much to Neil McInnes for looking after us. And Sarah Furia, thank you for introducing us to this hotel again. We really appreciate that.
And we have a little message here from Big's Littles. Have a wonderful time together in Tokyo. I saw it too, Waka Waka, in my sister's garden this afternoon. Wow, what a lovely coincidence. So Waka Waka is the Māori word for it, fantail.
Beautiful.
And they are the most gorgeous little birds. If you don't know what a fantail looks like, please Google it and get like a video and see how they fly around. And they have the beautiful little tail that turns into a fan, which is really lovely. It's especially a nice little thing between Japan and New Zealand.
Must be a good story for them to tell, right?
Yeah, the sensu tail. And that's sensu, isn't it?
Yes.
That's not Uchiwa.
Right.
Yeah, sensu. Yes. Yeah.
And so also this week we have other things happening here this week. We can't tell you all the good goss. We will tell you a bit later, but it is out there and open that the Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern herself, as well as the Trade and Export Minister and a business delegation are coming into Tokyo this week. And we can't wait to welcome them here. It's the first overseas visit outside of New Zealand for the Prime Minister. She's in Singapore right now. We can't wait for her to come here and see Tokyo again and get around the sites here. Shh, we can't talk about that. But,
no. But if you tune in next week or the week after, you'll hear lots of exciting news from there. So maybe,
Yeah,
coming
by that
up,
time
coming
it'll be
up.
all public. We can
Yes.
talk a bit more about that. So again, we're going to finish up, but just to remind you again, next Monday, April 25th, our next episode is going out live. The person speaking is just really sensational. We love her. She's a great friend of ours. Very proud of her. Oh
Yeah,
gosh, I said her.
So,
She is a she. She is a she. But
you're letting the sheep out of the bag there, Catherine. But
I am. But please do hook on to Instagram. Look and make sure that you just follow us there on Instagram. Also go over to your favorite podcast player, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever it is, and subscribe so you can actually get this episode in your mailbox, in your ears very, very quickly on April 25th on Monday.
Yeah, so that's coming out at 3 a.m. Japan time, which is 3 plus 3 is 6 a.m. I had to calculate that one. 6 a.m. in New Zealand.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us today. It was lovely to have some guests joining us live. And if you're listening to this later on, thank you for supporting our show. And we'll see you all soon. Matane.
Matane. See ya.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening. Make sure you check out our guests' links in the show notes.
This podcast is brought to you today by Catherine O'Connell Law and Pod Launch with Jayne. If you have a great story you think should be on the show, come and find us on LinkedIn or Instagram. We'd love to hear from you. See you next time.
Matane.